InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Dr. Dawn Silver. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me back again.
Yes.
I'm very glad to be here.
And is it okay if I call you Dawn instead of Dr. Silver?
Preferred.
All right. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Dawn. Dr. Dawn founded the Healing Earth Resources. She's a naturopath, astrologer, and author of Jewels of the Lotus Crystal Healing Oracle, which I'm holding up right now, if we get a focus. And if you can, maybe get a shot of the table, because we're going to be talking about the crystals and the healing properties of crystals, etc. And your book here, I understand, received the Coalition of Visionary Retailers Award. Dawn teaches the Jewels of Lotus Crystal Healing Series certification program internationally. And I assume you developed the whole program?
I did.
And
yeah.
And I know, because I've interviewed you before. And by the way, if you like this interview with Dawn, you can go on Infinity's website and you can see some of the previous interviews I've done with Dawn. Tell our audience why you wrote this book.
Well, I've been working with crystal healing for many, many years, and my focus was always, you'd have to understand my background. My father was a physicist, so anytime I did anything that was healy-feely or spiritual, I pretty much got the backhanded knockdown on that. You have a similarity to that. Yeah. And so as I started to study crystal healing back in the early 80s, I started to create this bridge to verify everything, I would say, from the science to the spiritual science. And I kind of had to be in that place, even though I was into spiritual science and New Age, and I would feel things, and I had intuitive impressions on everything, and definitely, a student of astrology. I was always excited to find that link with the science, and really what I found was that it's really two different languages saying the same thing. And that probably was the most
You mean
interesting.
the physical science or the physics is saying the same thing as crystal healing or astrology?
Right, right. I mean, examples of that, I didn't bring any garnet crystals, but an example of that would be the high iron content in a garnet crystal, and in spiritual science, specifically through anthroposophy, they're saying that the newborn or the parent should wear the garnet crystal to pull the newborn child into the realms of physical existence, because garnet or meteoric iron is like an anchor that brings the soul in. And yet the interesting correlation to that was at the time of birth, the newborn baby happens to have the highest iron content they'll ever have in their entire physical life. So science was proving out what the woo-woos and jujus were saying for all these times.
Yeah.
And there are many examples of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, you're wearing some interesting jewelry,
know.
and our audience, especially the women, might be interested to know about the jewelry and why you're wearing those things.
Well, simply, I have a girlfriend who believes everyone should have a big Buddha head. So it works perfect for me, because also, what do you call it? Red coral is one of the stones I'm supposed to be wearing for my physical constitution.
Okay. And as you talk about physical constitution is what you're given at birth, and then there's specific stones that resonate.
Absolutely. So the day of your birth, according to the Vedas, the ancient Vedas, the day of the birth, you're supposed to wear certain gemstones because they're going to help with the planetary configurations. So the energy of different gemstones radiates to match the planetary correlation. So the days you're born on, if you wear certain gemstones, they're going to help with the ancestral karmas. They're going to help to balance it and balance the disease process in the body.
Okay, and you got some beautiful earrings. I don't know if you can flip
Thank
back.
you.
Is this something you made, or?
I actually did make these. Thank you for saying that. I didn't make these. But
Yeah.
I was going to further explain, because one of the stones I love to talk about is the turquoise in this. And turquoise has a reaction with your skin. And when you wear turquoise on the skin, just like the ancient Tibetans and the Native Americans wore a whole bunch of turquoise, turquoise has a very high copper content, hence the copper bracelets everybody was wearing to help push through arthritis and stagnant conditions. But when you wear turquoise on the skin, it's going to have a reaction with what's known as the buffer salts in your skin. It gets reabsorbed into your system to produce copper salts, and these copper salts then help to produce your antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase. So there's a whole science behind the medical healing of crystals and gemstones. That goes beyond, wow, I've got some hot jewelry.
Well, and also people are intuitive, and they just know this feels right for me, or this doesn't. It's kind of like food, you know.
Absolutely.
After we eat a meal, our body weighs in and says, yes, this was very nourishing, or ew, don't ever eat that again.
Absolutely, and there's such a correlation between all of these things, because they're obviously the minerals and metals that are found in the foods you eat, and certain minerals and metals, especially, you know, via the Vedas, you know, really dissected that many, you know, thousands of years ago, 15,000 years ago in the Rig Veda, and they would say that certain foods are good for certain body types. Like I'm very pitta, which means I'm very fire. So
Yeah.
I would stay away from too hot of foods.
But you know, I would have to say you also have to have some earth in you to be involved with
Yes.
crystals and
Yes.
gemstones.
Yes, it's a heavy science.
Yeah.
It's a heavy hobby I'm into. You can imagine me running through airports.
And then more turquoise and okay.
Just for a fashion statement.
Okay, and then you've
And
got
gold. Gold
Okay.
is important for my constitution, because I have in my astrology chart, my sun is conjunct my Jupiter, and they're two fire planets, and you have to separate them. And so in my constitutional chart, you have to strengthen my sun, which is also good for anemia and low blood pressure. My whole life I've had anemia and low blood pressure. So ruby or gold, because gold is the metal for ruby, would be specific for my constitution.
Okay, and then the rings?
Emerald, which this isn't really, and I wish it was, and if there's anyone out there who wants to buy me an emerald this size, I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I just wore it for show, but I usually wear only my prescription, but today I'm a little showy. Emerald is specific for too hot of a body too. It's a very cooling constitution. Think of chlorophyll, so it cools your body down. Emerald is also good for blood sugar disorders, and while I don't have diabetes or anything, and it doesn't run in my family, I do get low blood sugar sometimes, and emerald in particular has a high chromium content, and chromium is specific for balancing off your blood sugar levels.
Well, I must say, when I first saw you, I thought the jewelry was striking, but I had no idea there was so much thought
Yes.
and intent went into it. Now I notice you're wearing it on this, you know,
Right.
this finger here.
Right.
Is, you know, I know the various fingers
Exactly.
go to various organs. So do you pick where you're going to wear the jewelry, where it'll help you the most?
Awesome question.
Yeah.
Not today, but for the most part, absolutely. I believe that when you wear your prescription, it's kind of like eating a healthy diet. So 80% of what you're going to eat should be as perfect as possible. And so 80% of the time or more, I will wear the stones that are specific for my constitution. Because I need, like the rest of everyone else, all the help in the universe that I can get with showing up every day and doing the very best I can. So, but sometimes I'm going to eat chocolate. And sometimes I'm just going to wear a stone that might not be part of my constitutional prescription, and I might just do it because I like it.
Okay. And one last one, you're wearing that ring. That is
Because I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
This is called Navajo turquoise, so it's got turquoise and lapis and pyrite. Is anybody?
Yeah.
Just a gorgeous, gorgeous ring. And this is just one of those times that I'm just doing it because I love it.
If somebody wanted to find jewelry like this, where does someone find something like that?
Well, I mean, I would say it always helps to have your astrology chart done to know what really is specific for your body type. so that the greater majority of the time you could be wearing what actually strengthens your constitution and allowing the heavens to work with you, you know, as opposed to working against them. So I'm available for doing that. There are other good Vedic astrologers who do that.
Oh, and so once say somebody gets a reading with you, then
Right.
you tell them where to buy the stones, or you sell the stones?
I
Or
don't
jewelry.
anymore. I used to when I had that fabulous store of mine, but not anymore. But I would tell them where to go. And then, of course, you know, there's lots of great metaphysical bookstores, jewelry stores, the Gem Show when it's in town.
Okay. Now let's get back to astrology. Please give our audience some of your astrological predictions for 2012.
Well, that's okay. That's a big one. That's a tall one. We are clearly living in interesting times, and we're living in times where you're seeing lots of radical change in the universe. And we have, in the cosmology of today, we have two big planets squaring off, kind of like facing each other off in the heavens. We have Uranus square Pluto, which is pretty much locked in place till 2015 and trailing into 2017.
What does that mean, the two planets
That's a
squaring off?
revolutionary time. Uranus is all about change, and Pluto is in Capricorn, where it hasn't been in 248 years. And the last time Pluto was in Capricorn was this amazing time for us as we pulled away from Great Britain and we fought against the forces of taxation and unfair treatment and oppression.
Sounds like what's going on now.
And it sounds exactly what's going on. And now we have Pluto, which represents great wealth and structures and bridges, and we have Capricorn, which represents government. And right now we're having a revolution or an earthquake, or the skies are opening for us to gut the halls of government so that we can get rid of.
And when did this start?
This started a few years ago. This started into 2010. And you're really feeling it now. And actually, in a couple weeks, we're about to have I think it's June 23rd, a big head-on collision with Pluto and Uranus. And it's pretty big. But if you don't have these big things that take place in the heavens, if you don't have these big collides with planets, then you're not going to have the change that you're going to remember 50 or 100 years from now.
Now, I didn't know this astrologically, but I've been involved in politics for a number of years. Do people just intuitively, you know, follow their astrological chart or destiny, or how does it come to be, you know?
Well, if you're not paying attention, you usually follow your chart. If
Yeah.
you're paying attention, you can use your chart as a roadmap and do better.
Okay.
You know what's coming, and you use it to the greatest height that you can. But people unaware are just going to follow the lower end of their chart to some degree. And that doesn't mean they're unaware of astrology, but unaware of the urges that are taking place.
Okay. Now, it seems like our government, our politicians get away with a lot of stuff because
Right.
not enough people are interested in following government and really
Right.
know what's going on. So are you predicting that more people will become involved in a mass movement?
It's incredible. The Occupy movement is incredible, and it's what we need, and we have to occupy everything. But 20 years ago, when everybody was out buying, you know, second homes and vacation homes, and superstars were making outrageous figures, which they kind of still are today, but it was easy to ride the high times of the high astrology back then. And right now, the astrologies are colliding with each other. We have to have the change that's going to educate somebody to know that the world's not flat, that it was round. And in order to have these revolutionary paradigm shifts, you have to have big cosmology that brings that about. So yeah, I really think the times are ripe for the big change that happens right now in Syria, or what happened in Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and Libya, and you know, all the big changes that are taking place. They do take place when you have big revolutionary planets colliding against each other. And throughout history, we've had these periods, and these have been known as the periods that have brought about the big changes in the world.
And you say this is going on for another 2-3 years?
4, 5, 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big time that we're in. But again, in order to have big change, you have to have big cycles take place in the world. I mean, it's actually amazing. It's amazing. Because if we didn't have these cycles, the politicians would still be running us over with their, with their powers, the way they've been, in a not so, clean fashion.
Okay.
It would be an uneven society longer than we need it to be.
Okay. Now, you've taught at Infinity.
I have.
Yeah. And I think the last class you taught was astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning to teach some more classes at Infinity?
If they'll have me, I'll teach.
Okay. What are some of the things you'd like to teach? Astrology, I assume.
Always astrology, because I really want to turn the world on to astrology. But my favorite thing to teach is my crystal healing, because that's really the breadth of who I am, and it's based on the research that I've done.
And what do you teach in your astrology classes?
Mostly I'm teaching beginners to turn them on to astrology. I teach them on their chart so that they can get excited about astrology, because once they see it going on in their own chart, then they're going to want to do the charts of their family, and then they're going to want to study greater topics of astrology. Mm-hmm. Astrology is a pretty heavy science, and I joke about now I'm back living in the cave with a little light and a ballpoint pen, but it's a great science.
Yeah, well, I know, well, I can go online and I can read 4 or 5 different horoscopes.
Mm-hmm.
I could read like Chinese astrology and
mm-hmm.
numerology every day. How is astrology you teach different than what a person can read online or in a newspaper?
Because I'm teaching it specific to the date and time that they're birth and place of birth. So I'm teaching them specific to their chart, so that they can turn around, and once they learn the language, because astrology is just another language, then they can look at their own chart, and they can open up any book and say, aha, Venus in Taurus, Pluto in, Leo, whatever the signs are, and they'll be able to read that for themselves.
Okay. Now, are you involved in the Mayan calendar?
I'm not a Mayan astrologer, but I'm very interested because this is a big time in astrology. This is a hot time in astrology, a hotbed, because a lot of the big New Age healers and teachers are very fixated on the date December 21st, 2012. It's a very interesting date, but from an astrological purpose or point of view, it's not as big, at least in my perspective, and there's no great lineup that people are talking about. The only thing that's really going on that day is that our sun is getting closer to the galactic center. But it's not exact, but it's as close as it's going to get in a 26,000-year period.
And what does that mean, or how is that going to affect us?
Well, humanity's changing. Humanity's opening their hearts. We're having all these big things going on in the world, and because these big things are going on, it's changing the way we act in the world. We're becoming more compassionate, more loving, realizing that we're in this, together and not separately. This isn't just about us. So we're opening up.
Well, like you say, that was my impression as soon as you said it, because you said it was moving towards the center.
Right.
And I
we're
think
moving towards the center.
Balance.
Opening the heart, finding our heart. But it's real interesting because the current times that we're going through have been predicted by the Mayans and have been predicted by the Hindus, the great cycles that we're in, the last count, according to the Mayan calendar, the great count, and according to the Hindus, the Kali Yuga cycle that we're in. And a lot of false prophets have been predicting that this is the end times and this is the end of the world, but it's really not. And again, these big changes are coming in because we do have big changes happening. There are shifts in the poles. There are some physical calamities that are going on. But we're really moving towards the end of these cycles, but there isn't a specific day. So there's this one Mayan elder, Carlos White Eagle, who has interviewed over 600 traditional teachers, and he was able to ascertain from them that nobody has an exact mark on the date. It could be, even some of the Hindus are predicting 2053. But what's amazing is both of these big cycles got started around the same time, a little over 3000 BC, 3123 BC and 3205 BC for the other. And they are coming to the end of their great cycles right now, but none of them say it's the end times, and too many people have capitalized off
Well, one thing I know about cycles is that as soon as one cycle ends, the next one begins.
Right, and there's no great mark of demarcation. I mean, you don't just, it's not like going to Indiana and Illinois where you can have one foot on each side of the border. You're moving into these things, just like we're moving into the age of Aquarius now, but there's not a one day that we're here.
Well, and well, what is the age of Aquarius?
It's the age of brotherhood and peace and love, humanity, just really
I thought it was
being of we consciousness.
Okay, I thought in the 60s it was sex, drugs, rock and roll.
And a lot of that too. It's so funny.
Yeah. All right.
So see, it's already started, right?
What's that?
The age of Aquarius. It's already started.
Yeah.
We'd
oh,
hate
back
to
in
think,
the 60s.
yeah, we'd hate to think that it passed us by, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up a question. Like if you have the different age, you know, when you have, let's say, do you do like astrological readings for like newborns and then
Absolutely.
great, you know, for parents and their grade school children and high school?
Absolutely.
And so do you notice that the astrological readings you'll give for a person is different depending depending upon their age or where they're at in the life cycle?
Absolutely. Great question. I mean, first of all, the times are going to dictate certain lessons that we're going to learn at certain times. The world was a different place for my kids growing up than it was for us. We had so much more boredom than they did. And now we're moving at such a great rate due to the silicon molecule. We're in the silica age right now. We're moving out of the iron age. And moving towards an age that's going to catapult the energy of the stars.
And is there a way to, you know, is it possible that we're moving too fast? And if we are, is there something we can do to move a little bit slower, like wear crystals?
Wear crystals that slow you down, less junk food, less things that make your system hyper. Move away from the things that are speeding up this world because they're for technology, but they don't have to play upon your body, like electrical grids and so on and so forth. Get connected with the earth because the bottom line is those same minerals and metals that are in the earth, you know, are creating our greater technology. They're part of us, but they're going to help to ground us. And they need us, you know, to be convening with them.
Well, I have a friend who just unplugs. She does silence.
That's awesome.
Like 2-3 days a week where she turns off her computer, turns off her phone, no television, and
the cell phone thing.
Yeah.
That's the big thing right now.
Yeah, and I swear, you know, I think about her during her silent days, and it's like I draw energy from her.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that too.
Yeah. Now, what about astrological readings for like parent and child interacting or husband and wife? Do you do that as well?
Absolutely. And when you look at these charts, you can take a look and see what their greatest growth and evolution is in the chart, where they're aspiring to go to. But you can also, I like to say that life is a spiritual bank book. It's going to show you many roads that you've done and paved well for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and therefore you don't have to rebuild these roads. But it's also going to show you what I call the agreements between lifetimes, the crap. It's like, holy cow, you know, I've sat on the mountain, I've done enlightenment, I've done all of this, but I forgot dejection and I forgot, you know, to get my heart stomped on, or I forgot how to handle money, or whatever it is that you have to come here to learn. We all have lessons to learn. If you're doing a chart for a parent, it's awesome because you could see, I've done so many charts where you could see, you know, hey, this child should not be sleeping next to the outlets behind their bed because it's too much stimulus, too much electricity, or they have allergy potentials in their chart. You have to watch the orange food dye. I like to get into medical astrology, you know, preventative astrology. So that's a lot of what I look at. But you can see all those cycles in the chart.
Yeah. Now, is this from your book? From your
It is.
book?
Yes, it's the deck from my book.
And do you want to show our audience this? And
Sure, let me pull a few cards. I'm playing with a full deck. Don't tell anybody.
And the best part is you created the deck.
I did. And actually, it's based on my crystals. My crystals have wonderful ego presence, and they like to be photographed. And is what I like to say.
And so let's say, if would I pull something out and you'd give me a reading?
I can do that. I'd love to do that. Do you have to have a question
Okay.
that you're not embarrassed to ask? No, I'm
Okay.
kidding. Hang on 1 second. Okay. So I usually say take a deep breath and go to that place where you know you're one and loved by the divine Mother, Father, Spirit, all that there is, giving permission to your guides, master teachers, and the beings of light that help you tap into your most divine wisdom as we open the records of your soul, the records of the Akasha. So Jay, give me a question. What's the most important thing to you right now?
Well, I have a civil rights case in court, federal court, so
Okay.
I believe I'm fighting for justice and democracy.
You always have been.
Thank you. So, so we've got to put in a question?
So are you asking me what will the outcome be, or what's the path? What do you need to know right now?
Oh, what's the outcome?
Okay. Give me 4 cards,
Okay.
one on top of the other. You can just hand them to me.
One,
Tell me how far you're going with this.
2,
What are your obstacles? And what's
3.
the outcome?
that one.
Excellent. It shows me you've got a lot of energy involved in this. This is my card of energy. This is iron. This is what gives us our energy. If you don't have enough iron in your body, then you're basically anemic and you're moving away from being informed. So this is to get out there, get seen, get noticed, make a lot of connections, get in the rhythm of what you believe in. But this is also my activist card, so it's no doubt that you would pick my activist card. This is the card of where you're going, and this is the card of turn over every stone until you get what you need. It's the card of spiritual awakening and walking your journey in your path. Ask lots of questions.
Live your truth,
Right.
or be the change in the world that you want.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so this shows me that you've got a journey to go on yet. It's not, you haven't reached a destination point. Plus which it's Earth, and Earth moves slower, so I know it's going to be a journey for you.
Okay.
But it's a journey of walking your talk. This is the obstacle card, and this is really no obstacle. Other than don't get too comfortable, don't rest too much. This is kind of like my Sunday morning card. It's a venturing, beautiful card. But again, it's Earth.
And which stone would that be?
Yeah, I didn't bring that one with. I
Okay.
couldn't bring everything. I have
Yeah.
so many stones. So all the stones we have here, I didn't, except for turquoise. I brought a piece of turquoise, but I
Oh,
didn't bring
yeah.
the piece of turquoise. Some of these I have here. So don't get complacent, would be, but you are going to go after your heart's desire here. And a lot of heart's desire, because green lotuses represent the heart. The end card is the card of when you win, coming to a place where you don't gloat about it, but coming to a place where you know you've led the direction, you know that you've gone where you're supposed to go with this, but you don't trample over them. You let everybody come to the same conclusion at the end, which is a real good, it's courage. It's saying you do have to step up to the plate, but you don't have to step up to the plate in an in-your-face kind of manner.
So am I gonna win, or you didn't say that?
I would say this is a courage and strength card. It could be victorious, more towards the year of 2014.
Wow.
Is that too long of a wait?
No. I mean, for cases to go through,
Yeah, I
through
would
federal
think
court.
so.
Well, we've got about 30 seconds.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Boulder opal. Opals are silicates of hydrous particles in a colloidal state, which means it's the only stone not set in stone, J-stone.
Yeah.
So it says, be in the fluidium of the divine. Drink more water, be in flow state, put your highest intentions up to the universe, and allow the universe to bring it back to you the way it's supposed to be. Man plays God, God plays better.
All right, we got to wrap it up. For more information about Dr. Dawn Silver, the Infinity Foundation, the Inner Quest talk show, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Until next time, wish you good health, good spirits, and of course, good fortune. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Jeannie. Thanks for having me.
For more information about this show, our guests, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-83